Cody Gilberry. I'm here with another video on my Impreza. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I relocated my fuse box from the engine bay to underneath the bumper. It was actually in an ammo box, and it's actually super simple. I originally moved the fuse box years ago. This time around, I think it's come out a lot cleaner, but I still wanted to show you an overview of how I moved it. If we go over here to this Forester, I have almost identical to how the fuse box was in my GC before I moved it. So I'll show you here. Here's the fuse box with the cover. If I pop this off, you can see it looks identical to the one in the GC, but it just mounts here. Very convenient location for it. But essentially all I did was I disassembled the fuse box and pulled all the wires through the hole here. This hole. I disconnected everything, pulled it through, and everything's long enough to mount it where I have it now. The only thing I had to lengthen was the power wire. If you can see here, the main power wire for the fuse box originally just goes from the positive straight through into that bolt that I show. It's probably 12 inches long here. All I did was I ditched this and I made my own wire, probably a good 2 foot long, maybe even longer. So in this case, I just made a longer wire, 2 eyelets, probably a 2 foot piece of, I can't remember what gauge, but it's heavy enough, going from my positive down around into the power block on the fuse box. So that's really the only thing I had to modify outside of what I did show in this video. It's really that simple. You're basically just taking a fuse box, moving it from here to here. It's really simple on these cars. Again, this is what it looked like originally. So if you can imagine, just unplugging everything, pulling it through, plugging it back in, making a longer power wire, and that's really all it is. So I've got a grommet like this. It'll be going in this hole here. It's got a slot in it. Kind of just massage it into there. And it's just stretchy enough to stretch it across this relay block. I had to take all the relays out to get that to work. But I have to take them off anyway to get it to fit through this hole. And you can see how perfect a 2-inch hole is. It's actually a little tight, but if you work these wires through, this is the worst part of what you have to shove through. Another factor is the different length of all these wires. So as you can see, I've got the grommet pulled up to here. I'm gonna have to get a little more slack than that. I also got some wire loom tape to wrap this so that it's a lot more bundled. Got all these that need to go into the back of the fuse block. I might just keep this separate. This mounts in here, but it doesn't need to. It literally just clips in to keep everything together. I'm thinking if I cut this off, I can just have this separate, and it'll actually give me a lot more wiggle room to work with here. You really can't mess these up either. Just make sure all your contacts are clean. There is one wire I'm leaving out right now, and that is my main power wire, but it mounts to this bolt right here, but we're going to tackle that last. I have a feeling I'm going to pull this out of here again anyway, so as long as you can feel everything plugged in correctly. All right, everything's plugged into the fuse box. That's, yeah, man, if I cut that off, it'd give me so much more slack to work with. Ideally, you'd probably lengthen some of these. I'm trying not to do because, although I feel pretty confident in my wiring capabilities, that's just one more failure point in my mind. I'm trying to minimize that. It's part of the reason why I put it here in the first place, because I'm really not modifying the harness at all. I'm just moving it from here to here, more or less. A little more complicated than that, but more or less the wires aren't changing. I do want to warn, anytime you are cramming wires and stuff like this, look them over really well. Some of these edges are kind of hard. It's all plastic, so it should be fine, but you might find yourself wearing through something somewhere, and that's never good. So then you'll be chasing electrical gremlins, and nobody likes to do that. easiest one. Nice. Awesome. Tightness, power, connection. So this bracket, bumper bracket, as you can see, I pretty crappily notched it. I'm gonna clean those edges up, put some vacuum hose there, glue some vacuum hose on there and there, just so there's no rough edges to wear through the wire harness. Real quick though, I wanna mock it up, make sure we're still good on our fitment. That wiring harness goes through this. There. There. Screws to the bumper, or the fender. Got all my hardware painted up, bracket painted. Not that you'll really ever see this, but I wanted it to blend in. I'm just going to loosely tighten this on right now because I'm taking all of this off to paint the underside at some point. So. Let me put the bumper on, make sure it clears everything. Bumper looks good. I hate these. I don't know why I put these on there. I do have a good pop rivet location. I'll probably just end up taking these off and then filling them later. These fenders need work anyhow, but they have been pretty handy. In the meantime, I can just throw a zip tie around them. But I have this bumper off more than I have it on, so let me see if the splash guard's still gonna fit. This will fit. This will be a bit of a safety net with the tire. It fits. Cool. That's good progress. We gotta clean this guy up. No one's ever gonna see that, but I'm gonna paint it anyway. Doesn't look like it's very structurally rigid, but it does attaches here and here. So once you get it in there, it's actually pretty strong. I just bent this down so it's not such a harsh edge. Okay, a lot of this stuff bends really nice. It's fine. Part of the mess too, I usually don't work this messy. This is actually driving me nuts. So here's a good shot of how the wiring comes down through this bracket. This is the bracket that I cut and modified. I repainted it, put some heater hose and some loom tape around it just to protect any wires from chafing. It actually worked out pretty nice. See my grommet where everything goes in. It's not watertight, but there's a splash guard that goes here. I think I might actually drill a real small hole at this bottom corner in case any water does get in there, it can leak out. But I'll keep an eye on it, make sure it's not accumulating any crazy moisture or anything. So here it is, the complete fuse box. Everything's mounted up and where it needs to be. All the wires are ran where they need to go, and it's got some flexibility to it, which I'm okay with. It's not going anywhere for sure. There's just enough room here to disengage this and get it past so you can open it up. And inside, everything's pretty accessible. I'm not going to say it's the easiest to get to, but if you sit on the ground here, and you can get to everything you need to. I also took the original sticker that was in the lid of the fuse box, and I guess kind of just laminated it so I can toss it in there and use it as a reference. I just checked all my fuses. My door lock fuse was actually out. I replaced that. That was the only fuse that was out. So everything's good to go with the fuse box. I'm gonna hook the battery up multiple times now, kind of check everything, and we are good to go. So anyway, that's my fuse box relocation. Pretty simple. Obviously not super ideal to access it unless you have some kind of quick release. I do have these Super Ricer quick releases. Those aren't going to be on the car forever. That was kind of an impulse thing when I was younger. They are functional, getting a bumper on and off. I would like to do the quick latch button releases. I think those look way cleaner. That's it for this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.